When it comes to the Epstein name, the world knows Jeffrey, the financier, the convicted sex offender, and the man at the center of one of the most infamous criminal cases in recent history. But there's another Epstein whose story is almost as strange, tangled, and controversial. Mark Epstein, Jeffrey's brother. He's not accused of any crimes. He wasn't charged in connection with Jeffrey's abuse network, but his life is wrapped up in unanswered questions about where his money comes from, why he owned a modeling agency that seemingly never signed a model, and why he spent the last 6 years insisting that his brother was murdered. And maybe most intriguingly, why powerful political names like Donald Trump keep popping up in his interviews. Let's get into it. From Brooklyn artist to mysterious millionaire. Mark Epstein was born in 1954 in Brooklyn, New York, a year after his older brother Jeffrey. They grew up in the private, gated community of Seagate, Coney Island, the sons of Pauline and Seymour Epstein. Mark was Puggy to his neighbors, a kid who would go on to study at Cooper Union and Stony Brook University, graduating from Cooper in 1976. His early career was as an artist, but by the late 1980s, he had pivoted into business. He ran Ismo, a t-shirt printing company he founded in 1986, and became the president of J. Epstein & Co., his brother Jeffrey's investment company. He was also head of Atelier Enterprises, a leasing and chartering business. But it was in real estate that he made his biggest moves, eventually running Epstein Acquisitions from 1987 to 2015, and serving as an executive at Ossa Properties. That's where things get interesting. The building with secrets. In the 1990s, Mark bought a 16-story condominium at 301 East 66th Street from billionaire Les Wexner. Yes, the same Les Wexner who had a famously close relationship with Epstein, the Victoria's Secret's owner whose fingerprints and vibes are all over the place. It wasn't just any Manhattan building. According to records and witness accounts, Jeffrey Epstein long used units there to house girlfriends, associates, employees, and businesses. After Jeffrey's 2019 arrest, some speculated the building could have been a hub for moving young women through his network. Mark has denied any role in his brother's operations, the modeling agency that never modeled. In December 2005, Mark Epstein quietly incorporated a new business, Saint Model and Talent. On paper, it was a New York modeling agency. In reality, no one really can point to a single signed model, fashion shoot, or talent booking that ever actually happened. The timing was curious. The mid-2000s were a period where Jeffrey Epstein's own connections to the modeling world were well documented, and accusations were swirling about how modeling agencies could be used to recruit young women into his network. Also, Les Wexner was there running around, who owns Victoria's Secret. He was friends with Epstein and Trump and everybody. Records show that Saint Model and Talent was registered to Mark's business addresses, but despite its apparent inactivity, it was kept incorporated for years. There's no real public signs it generated any revenue or hired staff or even had an office for models to visit. Mark has never publicly explained why he set it up or what it actually did. And while there's no public evidence linking the agency to his brother's criminal activity, the optics, combined with his ownership of 301 East 66th Street, have fueled ongoing questions about how intertwined the brothers' worlds really were. Big donations, bigger questions. Despite a history of recurring tax debt, Mark has been a six-figure donor to Cooper Union and served as chair of its governing board until resigning in 2015 after a financial crisis and student protests. He's also been involved in the Humpty Dumpty Institute, an international charity linked to members of Congress, to which he loaned over $100,000 in 2014. The brother's death, most likely murdered. Everything changed in August of 2019 when Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his Manhattan jail cell. Officially, it was ruled a suicide by hanging, but Mark says that's a lie. They both came out of the autopsy room and said they couldn't call it a suicide because it looked too much like a homicide. Now that never appears in any government report. He told Crime Stories with Nancy Grace, referring to two forensic pathologists, Dr. Michael Bannon and a city pathologist who examined the body. Mark claims the broken bones in Jeffrey's neck occur in less than 2% of suicides like this. He says New York's chief medical examiner, Dr. Barbara Sampson, ruled it a suicide without even seeing the body. After the autopsy was over that day, we claimed the body, so she never saw it, he said. He's called the Justice Department's official report bullshit and blasted Trump-era FBI Director Kash Patel as a fucking moron for saying you know a suicide when you see one. The Trump connection. Mark has repeatedly insisted that Donald Trump and Jeffrey were extremely close in the 1990s and early 2000s. They were extremely close. I saw them together. Many people have seen them together, he told Channel 4's Kathy Newman. You've seen videos of them, parties and all over the place, and photographs. He claims Trump was in Jeffrey's office a lot in the early 90s when he was in financial trouble, and that there are witnesses who could testify to that. When the White House denied it, Mark called the statement just another blatant lie. In July of this year, he went even further in an interview with Newsweek. In the 2016 election, we were talking about the election and Jeffrey told me that if he said what he knew about the candidates, they would have to cancel the election. That's a quote. That's exactly what he told me. Mark says Jeffrey never told him the specifics, but we know that Jeffrey had dirt on Donald Trump. We know that. That's a fact. Trump has denied any wrongdoing.
For years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein because he did something that was inappropriate.
Blah, 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 blah. Check out my full video on that. Steve Bannon's 15 hours of Epstein footage. In 2021, the New York Post released a trailer for a documentary Steve Bannon, Trump's former chief strategist, was making about Jeffrey Epstein. It never came out. Mark says Bannon told him he filmed 15 or 16 hours of videotape with Jeffrey in 2018 and 2019, and he was, quote, trying to help Jeff rehabilitate his reputation. Mark's demand is simple. Let me see the videotapes. He's my brother. Bannon now says he'll release a 5-part series early next year, but Mark isn't holding his breath. The will that cut him out. 2 days before his death, Jeffrey signed a will moving all $577 million of his assets into a private trust. If he had died without a will, Mark would have inherited everything. Instead, he got nothing. Mark says he's not a trustee, not a beneficiary, and has no idea who controls the trust. But he did offer his Florida condo as collateral for Jeffrey's bail in 2019. Conspiracy theorist or reluctant whistleblower? To a lot of people, Mark is pushing a conspiracy theory. To others, he's asking legitimate questions about a death that occurred under bizarre circumstances. Guards asleep, cameras malfunctioning, cell doors possibly unlocked. Stop covering things up and let a real honest homicide investigation take place, he told Australian media just last month. Somebody wanted to keep him quiet. Where that leaves the Mark Epstein mystery. Mark Epstein's story is not one of criminal charges or court trials. It's about wealth without a clear origin, business ventures that just raise eyebrows, and a 6-year campaign to cast doubt on the official account of one of the most infamous deaths of the century. He's the man who could have inherited Jeffrey Epstein's entire fortune, but was cut out at the very last moment. The man who owned a building tied to his brother's world. The man whose name sits at the strange crossroads of art, real estate, modeling, politics, and one of the darkest scandals in modern history. And as long as he keeps talking about Trump, secret tapes, about murder, the other Epstein will remain a mystery all his own. Let me know what you think of Mark and his modeling agency and everything like that. I'm very interested to see what people think. Do you think it's just a weird coincidence, or do you feel like he was genuinely connected in this whole thing? Let me know in the comments. If you're locked into this Epstein stuff like I am, make sure you check out some other videos I've done. I did a big deep dive into the entire friendship between Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump, and no spoilers, but it's gross. Bye.